Hola! This semester we've been reading Esperanza Renace, and as you know in the story, Esperanza's mother has to leave Mexico and make many sacrifices, including leaving all her wealth and her home, so that Esperanza can have a better life after her father's death. In that same sense, and after our discussions that we've had in class about sacrifices, now I would like us to reflect on the sacrifices that our parents have made for us, much like Esperanza's mother has made for her. This that you're going to hear me talk about is the sacrifices of my parents, los sacrificios de mis padres. And it's the story of our history, much like Esperanza's history that she's telling in the story. This is my family, mi familia. Here's my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. And this is me when I was younger. Sacrifices, sacrificios. What are these? All parents make sacrifices for their children, as any parent does, but our parents, yours and mine, have made larger sacrifices than most. Our parents left their country of origin, whether it be Mexico, Panama, Honduras, wherever, and they've come to a country where they don't know the language, they don't know the customs, and in some cases they don't know the people. In some cases they come and they don't have family or friends here. This is my parents' story. This is my dad, mi papa. He came over when he was a teenager still, probably 19. Now the interesting thing is that my father and my mother came over two different ways. My father came from Mexico, and he came over illegally. My mother came from Puerto Rico. So she was a U.S. citizen when she was born, and she came over legally. She came over when she was about 15. Now, my parents met, they fell in love, and they got married in Mexico. When I was born, this is me as a baby. When I was born, my parents had a difficult decision. They could either move to Mexico and build a home there, or stay in California. I was the deciding factor. So now my parents had a difficult choice. California or Mexico. What were they going to choose? The story they tell me is that when they took me to Mexico, and they were trying to decide, they looked at me, and I was playing in dirt, because in Mexico there's no toys, you're on a farm, and it's all dirt everywhere. And they looked at me and they decided that I would have no future in Mexico. There would be no hopes of diplomas or college. The opportunities were just not there. So they voted against Mexico and to go to California. Of course, this meant that they had to make many sacrifices. My mother went to college at night, and she also had a couple of jobs. They paid for us to go to private school. My father and mother worked opposite shifts most of the time so that someone could be home with us. They made sure that we had everything. We took trips and we did everything that all the other kids did so that we never knew that we didn't have as much money as they did. They took us to visit lots of places and experience all of the United States. They also made sure that we knew all of the American customs as well as ours, like Santa Claus and Christmas, as well as our Hispanic customs. It wasn't until I had my sons, these are my sons, Eric and Ethan, that I started appreciating my parents and what they did for me. So I went to college with the example of my mother. I got a job and was a hard worker thanks to my parents' examples. Now, I want you to think about your family. What is your family's story? Where do they come from? What have they taught you based on their sacrifices? What sacrifices have they made? Each of you will also make a project very similar to this, where you will reflect and think about the sacrifices and put it into a project. So now you go out and you get pictures, much like I did, and you can rewatch this as many times as you want to get ideas. All of these pictures were supplied by my mom, so thanks to her.